Benjamin.
Hello, how are you, Jill?
Very well, thank you. It's Mother's Day that we're recording on, Ben.
It is,
Yeah.
and you wanted to spend the time with me.
I did, yes.
Yeah, that's sweet. I mean,
yellow there as a kind of spring-like Mother's Day colour, if anybody's actually watching the video.
I mean, I see you more as my very elderly aunt.
Steady, right? Steady. Just we've got plenty of time to get rude with each other. Let's just start being kind. Let's just be kind.
Be kind, everyone. But yes, but we are filming on Mother's Day, and we're back with another episode and a really fun, exciting one, I believe, with some great stories
stories coming up. Oh yeah,
we're both really excited to tell. But let's start just by talking about the week we've had, Jill. I think it's been a bit of a crazy week. I mean, for me, as a teacher, obviously going back to school, it's been a bit crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah, doing drama with masks on. That's a fun one.
Nice.
No, not really any lessons on facial expressions yet.
Please, Mr. Benjamin, I would like to tell you about my week. The heating went on Wednesday. The kids went back to school Wednesday, so I was on my own. Heating broke, got freezing. Then the man came and fixed it Friday. Then it exploded again on Saturday, so the man came back and fixed it again on Saturday. So not great. Then it was very windy. Do you remember? Very windy.
Yes, it was.
Well, and the whole gazebo setup that's been there since Christmas Day, just awaiting the moment in a couple of weeks' time when people could sit outside again under the gazebo, blew over the fence and was mangled.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That is
yeah. All in all, it's been a cracking week. I've really enjoyed it. Thanks.
Yeah, that's been a bit of a disaster, hasn't it?
It really has been a bit of a disaster. And now, to cap it all, Ben, so we just went, oh, well, let's treat ourselves maybe to some new outdoor furniture and a new gazebo. And if you go onto the BBC website this very day, the second news story, down from like important things like women's rights and all of that, the second news story on the news website was, there's a shortage of garden furniture.
Oh, what a disaster.
An utter disaster, apparently due to shipping and the high demand, and also the shipping costs have gone through the roof. Let's not go to Brexit, but Brexit caused it. And so every which way we turn, we shall be sitting on broken furniture with no gazebo over our heads.
Oh dear me. Well, I'm sure it will be
Ben, good news. The magnum of Prosecco that was underneath the gazebo on top of a table did not smash.
I mean, that's the most important thing.
Exactly right.
Yeah, that is good. That is good. I mean, so a bit of a crazy week for you then, for both of us, really. I mean, we have also had we also held our first making a musical workshop.
We did, and it was jolly good fun.
It was very good fun, wasn't it? So, which sort of links to some of what we're going to talk about today, and with our special guest as well, and being able to creating a story, creating something from scratch. So it links quite nicely, really. But yeah, it was really fun. We had a really great time with lots of people. For the listeners and not the video watchers, Jill is currently wearing bunny ears.
Well, no, because, hang on, let me explain that. So on the Making the Musical video Zoom, you made us grab things and become a different character, and I had some bunny ears close by, so I grabbed them and became some sort of maniac runny babbit. Runny Babbit?
Runny Babbit.
Bunny Rabbit.
Runny Babbit, the bunny rabbit. That's a good name.
It's a good name, actually. Yeah, Panto name there.
It is a good Panto name. But yeah, so that was really fun, just creating stories and creating, what goes into writing your own production, essentially, and coming up with new concepts. And we've got another one of those in a couple of weeks, so we'll see if anyone comes back with some cracking ideas.
Oh, and Ben, are we allowed to say? That we've put a date in for the next kitchen disco?
Yes, we can announce exclusive, because we haven't even announced it. But yes, exclusive.
I'm doing an exclusive drum roll, but you just carry on.
It's very nice. But if you wanted to, if you liked the sound of our kitchen disco, or you were involved in a kitchen disco that we held a few weeks ago, we have put in a date for another one. I'm trying to find it. Here it is. So
9th.
Friday the 9th of April. Friday the 9th of April, if you want to join us for a kitchen disco. It doesn't have to be in a kitchen. I wasn't in a kitchen. But if you want to just dance along and have a bit of fun, especially because
we've just got to have the debate, Ben, about whether we go heavier on the show tunes or stay as we are with the mix of 80s, 90s disco hits and show tunes as well.
Yes. That's
big decisions to come.
Decisions. We should ask everyone to request. Request.
That's a cracking idea, actually. We could use our newfound audience to ask them to send in what we should play on our playlist for the kitchen disco. It's a great idea.
Yeah, people can send us some requests for the kitchen disco. But no,
but as long as I retain the right to say no, that's rubbish.
Oh yeah, well, if you're going to DJ it, you obviously have that right.
Could I have a DJ name? Could I? I think I'd like a DJ name. Thank you very much.
DJ name. Do you want me to think of a DJ name for you?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll try and think of one, and I'll get back to you.
All right, thank you very much.
It's got to be good. My dog's currently barking, by the way, so I don't know whether you can hear that.
That's not a great DJ name, though, is it? My dog's currently barking.
DJ barking dog. It's a bit of an insult, isn't it?
I'm not from Barking. I'm from Romford.
So
kitchen. That's an Essex joke for anyone who went to school with me. Yeah. They're listening. Thank you.
All your school friends. Right. I think we should dive straight in because we've got quite a few.
What should we dive straight into, Ben?
Let's dive into our topic of the week.
Topic of the week.
Topic of the week. I was on a Zoom call last night with some of my school friends and they sang that to me.
Did they? See, well, they're obviously listening then.
Just saying, Ben, just saying.
Very good, very good.
They also recognised that I was sitting in the same chair and they went, that's where you record your podcast from. And I went, yes, it is.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the thing. It's very nondescript, my filming location, but yes. So, our topic of the week is...
I'm going to do something different next week then.
You're going to do something different? Okay. But yeah, we need to have a different background.
Yeah, I'll do something different.
So
let's do it. Let's make this the last week we look like this.
Yeah. So our topic of the week. Oh, sorry. I think we've got a delay going on with our filming. This is going really well, Jill. So our topic.
Let's get into the stories.
Our topic of the week this week. We have to stop and re-record. The topic of the week this week is about comedy and pantomime. So I'm trying to find the actual thing. Here we go. So the topic of the week was, tell us your favourite pantomime story or your best/worst panto joke. Because sometimes the worst panto jokes are sometimes the best ones. Exactamundo. Yes. And we already started our conversation about half an hour ago by going, God, what are those really funny ones that I sent you funny ones and we just can't remember them all because they're really funny at the time, and then once you've moved on from panto you forget them. But we've recalled a few, haven't we? We have recalled a few, which we should definitely go over, and we've had a few people have messaged us. Interestingly, they seem to have all messaged us rather than comment them on the post. Like we're not going to call them out on the podcast. Please, can I start with a story from Kate McLean? Yes, please. You may start. Okay, so Kate is the MD from Bodycut. So hello, Kate, and Kate's sister, and Kate's mum and dad. Hello to you all. And Kate says her best panto story, and you're going to like this one, Ben. Okay. They were upstairs in the balcony of a theatre enjoying the pantomime when there was suddenly a bit of commotion on the side of the balcony. A mother was then seen ushering her child forward urgently as the child had his hand over his mouth. He was clearly about to be sick. The woman then decided to thrust a crisp packet under his nose, we presume with the intention of catching the delights that were about to emerge. Sadly, it had the opposite effect, and as he turned to get away from the stinky crisp packet, he proceeded to throw up all over the side of the balcony. Oh. And they watched as the people below started just brushing off their shoulders with whatever had just landed, and still laughing at the jokes of the panto before they realised what had actually happened. And then the house manager was on all fours mopping it up, and they missed a large chunk of the panto, but the actors on the stage had no idea. But it was a very good story. Oh my God. That is what a gross one to start us off with.
I know. I mean, let's start low and then build upwards. That's what I say. We love a good bomb story. We love a good mopping story, don't we, Ben? There's always a bit of mopping every week.
I mean, that is quite, yeah, I mean, that is gross. That is absolutely wild.
The lesson in that is don't be fancy enough to go to a panto that's got a balcony. Just come and see our pantos because we don't have a balcony.
Yeah, we don't have a balcony yet. No, no, you would just be sick on multiple people around you. We've just had, Jill, literally in the last 10 minutes, so we'd already started filming. We had a message from Jenny Healy sent to us with one of her favourite stories for Panto. So I'm going to read that one to you. Whoa. Okay. So she said one of her favourite times was playing Simon, the stupid gnome, as my twin. So we were twins in that one. I can't remember, what was my character's name? Simon and... I can't remember. Pardon?
Cedric, was it Cedric?
Cedric, no. Does it begin with an A? I don't know. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Not part of the story. But she was playing my twin. And yes, I do remember this actually. I remember. You
can't laugh as you're reading it. Come on, read it out.
No. At the end of the show, there was she made a quick dash to the back of the hall to come through the audience for the final bows. After a few minutes, she thought, why am I the only one here? I opened the door, because there was a door at the back of the hall, wasn't there, at the time when we were performing this one, a fraction, to listen to what was going on the stage and didn't recognise the dialogue at all. It then dawned on me that it was me and you, Jill. It dawned on her that it was me and you, ad-libbing, because she had forgotten the scene. So I remember this, so she ran to the back for the bows and forgot the little like audience participation scene that was meant to happen between the three of us, me, her and you. And we were just improvising, going, she's not here. Where is he? Where is Simon? And then we were just so improvised the whole thing. And then I remember just seeing Jenny running from the back of the hall through the audience to get onto the stage.
And so that's the same panto that you were just reminding me that you had to talk to a policeman whilst dressed as a gnome. Is that right?
Yeah.
That one.
I think it's the story of wearing and looking a bit daft after panto with makeup and things. That was the same pantomime. We had to clear up the hall the same night that we finished the pantomime. So we were often there till like gone midnight, weren't we? And putting things back. And it was near a residential area, the school that we were performing at and stuff. And so obviously someone had called the police because there were some weird people in the car park late at night. And I remember the police turning up and I had to go and speak to them. And then only after really realizing that I had like full on like bright red rosy cheeks, a big like full on gnome makeup going on. But that's happened a few times. I've done things where I've been like a panto dame and then gone to the shops.
Which reminds me, another story from Kate McClone from me to share, which was when she got a phone call. She wasn't at this panto, but she got a phone call from her sister who was helping at a panto, and she rang Kate to see if she could drive the dame to the Horton Hospital because he had a suspected appendicitis. Not fun. Suspected appendicitis, but he had a full face of makeup on, and she was trying to check him in, and then she realised that she didn't know his name, and she only knew he was called Widow Twanky. He would have got a little wristband.
Widow Twanky.
And when he was coming round from the antiseptic, no, from the what's it called when you go under the
anesthetic. Oh, yeah.
That's the word, antiseptic. And it came around from the and they'd be going, "Wake up, widow! Wake up, widow!" You wouldn't know who they were talking to. Brilliant.
That is actually a cracking story. That is a fantastic story.
Very good.
What about let's have a look what jokes we have then. These are sort of stories that have come up whilst doing a panto, but let's have a look at some jokes. So our friend Luke, who has been in a few pantos with us, Luke was in with us ATC's sort of first pantomime. Our first pantomime was ATC, which was Jack and the Beanstalk, and he was I was the dame, and he was the captain of he was a pirate captain, and he was trying to convince me to let him hide out in my house. And the joke, which I still can't believe we said, was about hiding him and his semen in my basement. Hiding his semen in my basement.
Yes.
Which every night, the response, as he said the response every night was the best, because everyone just went and then howled laughing. And I always remember Jack and the Beanstalk, there was a lot of risque jokes.
There were a lot, yeah.
But it clearly worked. I mean, because they were all quite innuendo, like you wouldn't know it unless you understood but you then think our next panto, which was Snow White, was a sellout, which means I think people loved it. We didn't scare them away.
Those people out there like the rude. Is that what you're saying?
They love the rude.
They love a little bit of blue for the dads and the mums and the grannies and also the children as well.
Exactly, they love the rude. But no, Snow White's got quite a few of my favourite panto jokes that we've done. We added in quite a lot of great ones there. I know I had quite a few good ones. I've written a few of them down. So again, an innuendo joke was at the start, and I was the evil queen. I was talking to the audience about my massive magic mirror, and I said, "Do you like my mirror? I got it at Poundland." The shop assistant asked me, "Are you going to put it up yourself?" And I said, "No, I'm going to put it up in my room." Great joke, because it takes a second for people to get it.
Yeah.
And then they really love it. So that's a great one.
Yeah. And there's a good one about the dwarfs, isn't there, as well?
Oh, that was one of my favourite ones I wrote in, because it's a great little gag, which is so Snow White is talking to the dwarves, and the dwarves say, "So how much do you actually know about dwarves?" And she says, "Oh, very little." And he goes, "Well, that's a good start." That's a sweet joke. That one's not innuendo. It's not rude at all.
No,
just clever.
Perfect panto. We also used to try and rewrite things and make them really hard for ourselves to say. We remember rewriting a whole scene about a pheasant plucker, and having to say the phrase over and over again, hoping that I'd get it wrong.
And was it, when it comes to plucking pheasants, I'm the pheasant plucking king.
Yes, that's correct. I'm glad you said that and not me, given that I couldn't say
Yeah, I'm equally glad that you never got it wrong. Loads of people walking out.
I do recall a couple of times when we were still in a school hall, looking out at the headmasters at the time's face as we did these dodgy innuendo ones, and thinking, "Oh, please God, laugh, please God."
Yeah, in our Catholic school. The Catholic school venue wasn't the best, was it? No, that and the other one that I like, which again is just a clever one, is as the evil queen. I've brought it up just because I wanted to make sure it was right. Was I said, "I've worked all sorts of jobs. I got a job stitching clothes, but it was so-so. I got a job at the helium gas factory, but I refused to be spoken to in that tone. I got a job making clown shoes, no small feet." They're good ones.
Winner after winner after winner.
Yeah.
Where have we gone for the panto theme this time, Ben? Tell us about the guests that we've got coming up.
So in a moment, we're going to be welcoming our special guest, who is a writer and has written her own pantomimes, and has written original pantomimes as well. This is what I'm really interested in. Not just pantomimes that are well-known stories like Cinderella, Snow White, things like that, but original stories and original pantomimes to break the trend. And as well as writing pantomimes, has written her own comedy plays and things like that. And actually, I think it's time we welcome her and get her to talk about these. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our special guest, Kay. Hello, Kay.
Hello. Thank you very much for inviting me. Very excited.
Thank you for being here. We're really excited to have you, and your expertise, especially because of our topic of the week.
Of the week.
She just can't resist.
I love the jingle. It's my favourite part.
Please don't encourage her, Kay. Please don't encourage her.
I'm sorry.
So Kate, tell us a bit about you. Tell us when you started treading the boards.
Oh, okay. Well, obviously I started many years ago when it was in black and white. I always loved drama as a child, and I was part of a drama group in the 1980s before I sort of got married and had children. And then I came back to it, moved over here, and I actually met someone from Linden Players. They said, why not come along? So I went along just to kind of help out, and I helped with costumes and sort of backstage for a bit. And then I kind of got my confidence back and thought, well, I'd quite like to see if I can still do it. So I was tempted back with Panto, and I absolutely loved it. And I just thought, oh, actually, yeah, I really missed this. And so yeah, so that was it. That was 2005, and I'm still there. I'm still there with the Linden Players. So that's kind of my my home, I suppose, and all my friends are there, and I've only been on the committee. And the last few years, I've kind of I've written some shows and I've directed. So I've kind of been involved in lots of things.
You've done it all for Linden.
I've done it all. Yes, yes, absolutely. And I really miss it.
Tell us about the writing, Kay. That's a big jump from being on the stage to thinking, oh, do you know what? I'll write it.
Yeah, yeah. It was a kind of a slow burn, really. I always really enjoyed doing pantos, and some of them were a bit samey or a bit safe, or a bit formulaic.
Not rude enough for you, Kay. Not rude enough.
Well, yeah, maybe, yeah. You know, I think dumbed down a little bit, maybe. And I always said, oh God, I want better than this, but I never did. And then I decided in my 40s to go and do a degree at Warwick Uni, which I believe is
my alma mater as well. Yeah.
So I did a part-time degree at Warwick, which took me 6 years while I was working full-time, and I discovered that actually I can write. I kind of got it was a real boost to my confidence, and so I'd been saying for all this time, oh, I could write Panto, and somebody actually turned around to me once and said, well, why don't you? Why don't you have a go? And if it's rubbish, stick it in a drawer, you know, and if it's any good, you know. So I you know, I came up with a few different plots, and some of them were rubbish and stuffed in a drawer, and then I came up with one that I thought might work. And I went to Linden Players and I said, look, I haven't written this yet, but this is my idea. And these are the characters, and this is what I think is going to happen. You know, if I write it, will you put it on? And God bless them, they said yes. You know, they said, oh, have a go. So I kind of knew I set myself a deadline. I've got a year to, you know, and I knew if it didn't come together that we've got time to find something else. But they put their faith in me, and I wrote Hood, which was my first show. It's very long. It's like the Lord of the Rings. We thought it was, you know, it was going to be like a trilogy. It started off really long, but with a bit of editing, and it was great, and I'm really, really proud of it. And it's everybody who. It had a massive cast because all my friends wanted to be in it, and it was it was really good. And we had feedback from the audience that what they liked about it was they didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
I guess, you know, you kind of expect that it's going to be a happy ending, and you know, but they weren't sure what was going to happen, and I think people liked that. So it was, yeah. So that was the start of it.
I think that's you know, and that's what I'm really interested in as well. That idea of writing something new, and especially with pantomime, it's such a tradition, isn't it? And it's such a, you know, there's people know that what to expect, like you say, with their Snow Whites and Cinderellas and things like that. But coming up with something new, I think that must be quite a challenge. You know, plotting that out.
Absolutely, and you know, I knew I wanted, you know, the bits that I really love about Panto is I wanted a dame, and I wanted a principal boy, and I wanted a baddie, and I wanted booing, and you know, and songs that you know, and we wanted the kids in it, and so you know, I knew I had to shoehorn all of that in, but so it's basically, it's quite heavily inspired by The Wizard of Oz, whereas it starts in a black and white world, and then it goes into the Magic Kingdom where it's all colourful. But I wasn't restricted to the characters, so it's called Hood. So it's actually the principal boy is called Robin, but I also had a little Red Riding Hood, and so it kind of wasn't one thing or another. But some of the characters came from the one world into the other down a rubbish chute. It all makes sense, really. And they're searching for magic, because there's no magic in the cold sort of world, you know, so they're looking for magic in this kingdom. So I had all the princesses, you know, I had dwarves, you know, anybody that I wanted.
Lovely.
Bit of everything. And then just to throw into the mix, I had I'm going to say Terminator, but we weren't allowed to call him a Terminator. He was T42, and he was a cyborg from another dimension. And he was in completely the wrong show, and he realizes he's in the wrong show. He actually appears naked. I wrote it. He appears naked behind a bush, and I'm like, I mean, auditions were hilarious. So he appears, and he has a strong Austrian accent. Don't know, and he's in the wrong show. So basically, they say tell him to try and blend in until he can find his way back home. So he just turns up in all the scenes with a different kind of disguise on. So at one point he's one of the dwarves, and then another point he's in the laundrette, and he's a lumberjack. He just sort of turns up, and he falls in love with the dame, or she falls in love with him. I quite like that fish out of water, and I thought, well, I can write what I like. I can write. It made me laugh, and also he was he could say, you know, I'll be back, and then, oh no, you won't. And I just thought, well, that's, you know, that's not going unwritten.
Classic.
You know,
smashing together.
That's coming in there. So, and then also he was with the Wizard of Oz thing. He was kind of like the Tin Man, and the dame. He said, like, are you Dorothy? And she's like, well, I'm a friend of Dorothy's. Which,
brilliant.
Which was only me and Joe Bailey laughed at every rehearsal. I think we were the only ones who laughed. But I'm leaving it in. It makes me laugh. So so we had at one point I had 4 pantomime dames in one scene, the Pussycat Dames. And that was really good fun, because I think a lot of people probably would like to dress up as a dame, but might not feel they could carry the whole show. So we said, look, just pop that wig on and let's see how you like it for a scene. You know,
I mean, I personally feel the same, which is why I ended up playing an ugly sister, wasn't it, Ben? Because I just thought I really fancy being a dame, even though I'm a woman, and therefore it's a little bit weird. But you just have to. It's Panto. You can do what you like.
You get all the best jokes. All
Exactly.
the best jokes.
Exactly.
Yeah. So so it was a lot of fun, really, and it was quite a complicated plot, but it kind of all worked, and and I felt like I'm not dumbing it down for people. So it was, if you didn't follow every little bit of it, there was enough in there that for the kids to, you know, had quite a lot of physical comedy, so that the kids loved it, and they loved the princesses and the dwarves and the interaction, but I had quite a lot of more adult humour maybe for the grown-ups, and I am notoriously fond of a double entendre, and I mean, they're just smart, really, and
you all love a bit of smart. I think that's why we all do Panto.
I think so, and you know, I grew up in the 70s, so you know, it's sort of, you know, I can't help.
A whole different caliber of smart.
It is a whole different level. So so that was really fun, and I like to rewrite songs to sort of make them funny. And my dame, it was Alex Nichols, who you know, I'm sure. Yeah. And he was outrageous, as you can imagine, as Flora, and yeah, we had a really good time. So
isn't it funny, Kay, how lockdown has meant that there's little talents that those of us who rewrite things for pantos and shows have kept hidden for so long. Now everybody thinks it's clever if you rewrite the words to songs and put it out into the Twitter sphere.
Well, I know it is. Yeah, I wrote Santa Baby, because obviously it was a Christmas panto as well. So we were singing Winter Wonderland from September onwards, and we had lots of Christmassy songs, and I rewrote Santa Baby for Alex, and that is generally one of the highlights of my life, watching him sing that to the Nutcracker soldiers, who literally were just cracking up the whole time at him. So it was great, and it's I think I was a bit worried. People don't know what it is. Will they still come and watch it? It's a risk, but I think you know, it paid off. I think people really liked the fact that it was a little bit different, that it was a bit more sophisticated. I think kids probably are more sophisticated than when I was a child, when we had like 2 television channels or whatever, and landlines. Oh, you know, I think they're used to special effects and you know, video things, and you know, more complicated kind of plots and whatever. So
I think you also find that it's about as well what works for each individual group with pantomimes. I think some can be obviously quite restrictive, can't they? I mean, we've always, whenever we've done a pantomime, we've either written it ourselves or we've made sure we've got rights to a script where the writer doesn't mind us adapting and everything.
Yeah.
I know some rights holders have said for pantomimes, I don't want any changes apart from this specific, you know, this specific joke can have a change, but nothing else. And you sort of think, well, sometimes that doesn't work for the community, it doesn't work for the people we've got, and you need to have that flexibility. So I suppose, you know, being able to write a play, a pantomime like you did for Linden Players, it meant that you could really hone it to their talents and their skills, couldn't you?
Absolutely. Yeah. And also, you know, with both of them, we've cast it kind of in the summer, and then I've like added in some more characters because so and so didn't get a part, and I'm like, don't worry, I'll, you know, we've already got 38 people in the cast, but I can, you know, I can whatever. So yeah, so you can, you know, you have that much more flexibility, and and you know, I mean, I hadn't cast it in my mind, but I knew that we'd got
what you needed.
We've got people who could.
To be honest, Kay, when Ben writes our pantos, it's the time we're nicest to him because we think that he might give us the best parts. Normally we're not that interested in him, but actually when he's written the panto, we're like, oh Ben, can I get you a cup of tea?
Absolutely. Well, you know, I'm not cast yet for this year, and you know,
yeah,
I can't sing, but you know, I'll have a go.
I mean,
how has Lyndon been through the last? I mean, it literally is now last year. We can say we're hitting anniversaries left, right, and centre this month.
I know. We were mid rehearsal for Made in Dagenham when we got stopped. So that we kind of still, we'll pause and let's see what happens. And then it became clear that it wasn't going to happen. And then we're like, wow, sure, we'll all be back for Panto. And we were also rehearsing a festival play in February. So we had two things kind of going on. And then it's like, oh, I don't think the festival's going to go ahead. And then it's like, oh, maybe not Panto. So it all got a bit grim, didn't it? So we did feel a little bit disconnected, and we hadn't really done anything. So we came up with our Lyndon Online thing, which we started in September. So we have, it's monthly now. We started off every 2 weeks, but it was a bit too much. So we meet up, we have a Zoom meeting, and we kind of, we've done play readings. We've had theme nights where we had a Shakespeare theme night. So people, you know, we read some different extracts. We read a scene from Midsummer Night's Dream, which we did a few years ago, and we had some sonnets, and we had a song, and so you know, people could still kind of perform if they wanted. So we showed The Trench in November, which Steve Hatt wrote, which we'd put on actually just after he died. So we put that on in November, a recording of that. So we've tried to kind of meet up and stuff. And then next month we've got a special guest.
I wonder who that would be.
I don't. Yes, it's so
but it's still time for you to cancel now that you've met him properly, Kay, and we'll all understand.
Cheers. I think
because I think, you know.
Oh, sorry, I was going to say we've said we've talked about it a few times, and actually, what's almost the most important for these sort of groups is just keeping that sense of community at the moment, isn't it? And just still feeling connected. I
think so. I mean, we have a lot of kind of young members who come for pantos and things, and we also have a lot of older members, retired or you know, who still like to be involved, and they you know, they volunteer for front of house, and they bless them, and you know, and they're really keep it. They're not all interested in Zoom things or whatever. So it's been quite hard to maybe engage them. But so, I mean, not all of them. Some of them are you know, dial in and join in. But so we have a newsletter that goes out every month as well, just to kind of say we're still here, and you know, we're making plans, and you know, but we haven't been brave enough to do anything online. And I know that you have, Ben. I know that you've done 2 or 3 things, which, and also you've started this podcast, the two of you, and I think that's really, you know, really admire that, and that you've you know, you've decided actually we're going to do something.
The crux of it is, Kay, we don't care if nobody's listening. We just like to talk to each other. Just try and stop us.
Just into the void. It's just.
Yeah, literally. Well, thank you for that. That's you know, that's appreciate. I mean, we've just, you know, we've tried to keep going in some form, and you know, as we said a few episodes ago, you know, it's. What different groups do is obviously dependent on what they've got access to, or the skills that they've got access to, perhaps. So, you know, as long as I think that community spirit is still there, and as long as, you know, everyone knows that they've got something to go back to when it eventually kicks off again, then that's the most important thing. I mean, is the plan that, obviously, hopefully with a possible end in sight for this lockdown, is the hope that you're going to get back up with Maiden Dagenham? Is that the hope?
We've pushed it back to next May because it's a big show and it's got a big cast and all the singing and dancing. So we're really lucky that Chris Cheetham and Sharon and Shanna, the director, are all available next year. So they didn't want to rush it and try and do it in a short time. It's a great show and we really want to make sure that we give the best show that we can. So we've pushed that back to next year. We're planning to do a panto this year. We're doing Camelot, hopefully we'll all go being well. We can start rehearsals in September. We don't know what sort of restrictions will be, if on audience and things, but we want to plan and do something. So we're going ahead with Camelot as far as we know. We're hoping to do something maybe before then, a smaller thing. So we're talking about that at the moment, maybe an outdoor event, or I don't know. And I just think actually we shouldn't restrict ourselves to the village hall. That's our comfort zone. But maybe we can do. Why can't we do something outside? Why can't we do something smaller? And I've certainly I've got ambitions for one of my shows, and I'm hoping that I might be touring in the autumn. I don't know.
Lovely.
I mean, that sounds really glamorous to say. We may just be in another village hall somewhere, but it's I'm having the t-shirts printed, whatever.
On tour.
On tour. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you've got to be ambitious with these things, haven't you? You've got to be ambitious and try new things. And actually, if this lockdown has taught us anything, it's we've got to be ambitious and we've got to go for it.
And we've got to keep the spirits up. So let's have some more cracking panto jokes. That's what I say.
Yes.
Who's got any cracking panto jokes or stories? Come on.
Talk about some panto joke. Kay, have you got a favourite, or I'm sure you've got lots of.
Well, I have got some. I should just admit this, that actually I laugh at all my own jokes. I laugh louder and longer than anyone. All my own jokes. And even though I've heard them like twice a week for 3 months, and then again on the night, I still laugh at them. Not because I think I'm clever or anything, but because actually you write something and then it goes out there, and it's even if you're directing, you've got some sort of control or whatever over it, but actually you put your words in the hands of these people who are fantastic, and they milked every bit out of them, and they make everything better with, sometimes it's just a look, isn't it? You don't even have to say anything. It's just the way you hold your head, or the way you look at the audience, or something that actually makes that joke so much better. So I might think it's really funny on paper, but actually in the hands of these actors, it's gold sometimes, and I just I laugh with glee that they've made me look good.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you can laugh at your own jokes, like you say, after many rehearsals, then you're on for a winner.
I think at the end of the day, you can only write what you think is funny. If you try and write something that you think an audience will like, yeah. I think you have to be kind of true to yourself a bit. So I write what I think is funny. Well,
come on, hit us with a joke. Come on.
Quite a lot of mine, they're not necessarily one-liners, but they're kind of, I love wordplay and I love puns. I love an extended pun over a whole kind of speech. We had a really good some fish ones where that went on for probably far too long. But so I'm trying to. I meant to write some down, really.
But I'll tell you one while you think.
Yes, absolutely.
I'll tell one more thing that I've just remembered. I mean, me and Jill have talked about a few just before we came on, but one that I found, and it sort of links to what you just said with, if you find it funny, you know, then it's and laugh at your own jokes. So it was a joke that we did in Snow White, which was our last pantomime, and we couldn't get through it any night without laughing afterwards and corpsing, which was and it wasn't even the funniest joke in the panto, but it just made us laugh, which was I was the evil queen and the person who was the huntsman, Slurp, came on, and he said, I said, I don't think this is Snow White's heart at all. I think that she's alive and this is just one you've bought from Sainsbury's. And he goes, it was from Tesco. And I say, I'm so disappointed in you, Slurp. You know I'm collecting the nectar points. It just makes me laugh. And we both times it was sort of that build up to it and the sort of subverting expectations of where that joke was going, that the audience really loved it. And then me and Sam, who played the huntsman, each night just couldn't get through that joke without smirking at each other, because it was just funny. It was just, you know, not even the funniest joke in the pantomime.
Sometimes it's not. No, but I think if you laughed at it the night before, you know it's coming and you think, well, I better not laugh this time. I know we did a festival play year before last, and I wasn't supposed to be in it, but on the night of the festival, the person who was doing the stage manager had literally like a walk on and one line, whatever. So I said, oh, well, I'll do it. And I had to kind of say, you know, in like a really bad Brummie accent, which is my own Brummie accent, something about it's just a storage room and it's got all this racking. And Adam was supposed to like shout at me and whatever, and he goes, racking, and I just went, oh, and that's all I said. And it wasn't, and I absolutely collapsed. Every time in rehearsals we did it, he was like, don't make the noise. I'm like, okay, don't make it, because, and then whether I did it, you know, I couldn't help do it. And then we literally couldn't look at him. I had to look the other way and do it. And then just like scuttle off, you know, but it wasn't even funny to anybody else. But it just
sometimes that's the hardest bit, isn't it? We're doing virtually rehearsing for a play with Bodicote with the kids, and there's a line in one of the songs that every time I hear it, I titter, because I hear in my head a rude version that nobody, it's not the words, but I'll read it, see if you can. You said you'd love to have smouldering lips, slender legs and voluptuous hips. With all your faults, I still love you to bits is the actual thing. But in my head, I hear I still love your... And so I had to explain to the wonderful actor who's actually related to Ben. I had to explain to Cam that when I laugh every time he sings this song, it's not that I'm laughing at him, I'm laughing at what's going on in my head. So now
making up your own jokes.
Yeah, we're going to have to change the line before we put the show on, because we're all going...
I mean, it links to our thing. The three of us obviously loving the ruder, smuttier jokes. The other one, Jill, I've just thought of from Snow White actually is when I say marriage is great. It's just like getting a new washing machine. You never need to do it by hand again.
There were some bad ones.
Fabulous. Okay. Oh well, I've got a bit here. This is from Hood, and this is in Widow Twanky's laundrette, and the dame has gone there to do some washing, and Cinderella's ugly sisters are also in there. So these are all the dames. So Twanky has Flora's borrowed something off Twanky, and they're just talking as they're folding the washing, and Twanky said, I run a successful business. That chap in the front row can't take his eyes off my twin tubs. And Flora looks at the audience and goes, that one? No, it's not my type. You can have him. And Twanky says, I'd like to show him my bold 2-in-1. And Flora says, don't bother, love, he looks like he prefer fairy.
That is good. That is good. I like that.
And then the men are like parking spaces. All good ones are taken and the ones that are left are too small. Listen, I've been married 3 times. The first one was a complete waste of time. He was a trampoline instructor. I married him on the rebound. He came home one day and said, I'm leaving you. I've fallen in love with the manager of Moss Bros. Well, suit yourself, I said. So I quite like these extended sort of,
yeah,
you know.
They are good. They're good when they sort of extend, and especially like you say earlier, when they have callbacks and things like that.
Absolutely.
I think there is it always makes me laugh. I always think that in terms of the idea of wider theatre, sometimes pantomime can be sort of dismissed a little bit compared to other theatre. And I actually think pantomime, it's such an art form in terms of crafting it, in terms of writing it in the first instance, and then staging it correctly and playing it. And I think it's one of the most challenging forms because you have to be ready with improvisation, that audience response, breaking the fourth wall. I actually think people that dismiss it out of hand, I think are really narrowing themselves in terms of their own, like testing themselves and pushing themselves and trying something different and trying something that can feel a little bit daunting at times, because there are nights when you think, we know this bit will go wrong. It relies on the audience interaction, and you've just got to, I think it takes a good skill to be a pantomime writer and performer, and it shouldn't be dismissed out of hand.
I always think as well, once we've opened, if I have a good first night with an interaction with someone in the audience, then the next night I'm petrified that I won't find someone who is as funny in the audience. You're kind of like, oh my God, and it gets worse because the more times it goes well, the more you think, oh my God, it's never going to be that funny again. So it's got a whole other layer of stuff going on, Panto.
Yeah, I mean, back to just echoing what you were saying, Bear, we've sort of had people come in, people, they go around the groups and they come in and do one show and then they, kind of thing, which I think is a great thing. So we get people in and we go, oh, I'm glad you enjoyed the show. Are you coming back? Are you going to audition for Panto? And they're like, oh no, I don't do Panto. So, and it is that idea that it's not a proper show, and actually I agree, it is really hard, and it's hard to do well, and it's a real skill, and I think something that shouldn't be dismissed. And I really like the fact that we get the kids in to do stuff, and that's really good for everybody to interact with people who aren't just your own age. You get young people, we get older people who are more experienced, and you can see that kind of that transfer of knowledge and skills, and both ways. I think it's I love that part of it, and you get people bring their kids in. I've been in shows with my kids, they're grown up now, but and that was one of the most fun times I had was to be in a show with with my son, and on
my first show with my son, he played a carrot, didn't he, Ben?
He did play a carrot. It's the great memories, isn't it? Building wonderful memories there.
Yeah, but the kids come in and they start, I'll mention Alex again. It's not like I'm not obsessed with him or anything, but I am really. But I remember Alex as a little kid, and he played a snail, I think, in the first show I did, and he was like basically sitting on a skateboard in a paper mache shell or whatever, and he sort of trundled on and off, and and I think another year he was a dog or something, and then kind of fast forward 10 years, and he's got a bra on and a wig, whatever.
That's just in his personal life.
I've seen, but I mean, I've seen him, in other groups. I mean, I thought I saw him in Our House recently, and I thought he was amazing, and so you see these kids come in as kids, and then actually it's lovely that they blossom and grow and become really, really talented people.
Absolutely.
Which is lovely.
And I think and the other thing I'm thinking with in terms of Panto, it's not as well as being good for performers. I think what people, again, the people that maybe dismiss it need to understand and remember is, for a lot of people, it's their first introduction to theatre. For kids, pantomime is their introduction. So actually, you know, it's really important. But also, and as we learned this Christmas just gone, if it wasn't for pantomimes, actually a lot of these local theatres and the ones that aren't necessarily in the West End would actually not be open, because they rely on that panto income to support perhaps lesser known shows. So anyone out there who's listening to this and is maybe dismissing panto, you know, you don't have to like it, don't get me wrong, people, you know, people that might not, but you have to appreciate it, because without it, other forms of theatre wouldn't be able to thrive the way they do.
Absolutely. And it's not just, it's not just on stage, it's actually, pantos are such a big, you know, you've got the, you know, props, people have to make the weirdest kind of props and costumes. It's not, you know, you can't just pick up a dame's costume off the shelf, you know, and the hair and the music and everything, you know, it's a whole, you know.
I know, because I have made a dame's bra. So there we go. That's my claim to Jeanette's crown. Because we had 3 dames in our Cinderella. So Tom, the lovely and much missed Tom Greening, was in a bra. Ben was in a bra. There wasn't a bra for me, so I had to buy a very large, oversized bra in Sainsbury's and stuff it with tights. And it was never as good as the other ones, but it did a job. There we go.
I mean, as that proves, I think above anything, Panto is just fun. It's fun to stage and perform and just do, isn't it?
And that, you know, they can be so different. You know, my second panto is a summer panto, and it's called Camp. I mean, they're all camp, aren't they? But it is camp, and it's set in a holiday camp in the 1960s.
Brilliant.
And it was again, that was a couple of after I finished Hood, and I directed it, and I was like a shadow of my former self, you know, like nervous wreck. And people go, "Are you going to do another one?" I'm like, "No, I've proved my point. I'm never doing it again." And then within a few weeks, I'm like, "Oh, hang on." So the second one came much more quickly, but I completely went away from. There's no magic in it. There's no talking animals. It's completely set in the real world, and it's a comedy. It's a rom-com crime heist caper or whatever, set in a holiday camp in the 60s. So we had fantastic music. We had a house band who played, and we had yellowcoats and puppets and everything. Sammy the Starfish, who was the camp mascot, so we made a massive, and she couldn't get through the doors in this great big starfish outfit, and she wanted to be a yellowcoat, but she was like the mascot. So and it was a romance as well. So we had a romance, and we had a bad guy who'd stolen the crown jewels, and there was a talent show, and I mean, we fit a lot in there, but it was very much like not your average panto. But we had a dame, we still had booing, and you know, we had a comedy double act policeman, and you know, so that the elements were still there, but it was very much like, you know, there are no there's no fairy, you know. But we had the guy who ran the diner was called Gene, so we called it, he was the Genie, and he was the nearest thing to like a fairy godmother in the plot sort of thing. So that was another risk, really, because it's like, well, you know, there's no fairies, there's no princesses. How are we going to make that work? But it did. So you know, I was really really happy with that. And it was really nice having a summer panto, and it snowed the week of the show. It snowed really, really badly, and we were trying to set, but people couldn't get to set build. We couldn't get in the car park, and then we had the one of the backdrops got stuck halfway.
There's always something.
Yeah, so it was a bit of a challenge. So it was quite weird singing, kind of, we're all going on a summer holiday when everyone's got sat there like in their wellies. But
like one of our previous episodes where we talked about all the things that went wrong.
Yes, I remember that one. I was thinking at the time, oh yeah, I've been there.
So Kay,
yeah.
I mean, there's some fantastic productions there that you've written, and you know, I think you obviously have a website, obviously, because I mean, we could talk to you for hours, to be honest, with fantastic stories, and we'll definitely have you on again at some point to chat about it. But just quickly tell us where people can find you, because you've got a website where people can find these wonderful scripts.
I have, and it's called kayroadtoplay.co.uk. So it's all about me and a bit about Linda Players and a bit about my writing there. I'm on Facebook and stuff. So yeah, I'm also I've written adult comedy, and I've just finished second part of that. So that's what I'm hoping to tour with later. Have I got time to tell one really nice pantomime story?
Go it.
Go on.
Have I got time to it's really short, but
yeah.
When we did Hood, my Robin Hood was played by Lisa Nichols, who you probably know, Lisa. And she was Robin Hood, and we managed to tempt at the time her other half, Jason. He'd never actually been on stage before, and he said he'd have a go at a small part, just only a small part, and he definitely wasn't going to sing or anything. So Jason got a part, and he decided he would be Widow Twankey in one of the scenes. So he was and he remained in that character until the end. So Lisa's there in her like principal boy, you know, like, you know, dressed up as Robin Hood, and he's there in his frock and his wig and his lippy and everything, and he looks amazing, by the way. And on the Saturday night, he came to me and said, look, I hope you don't mind, but I don't want to steal your thunder at the end of the show, but I'm going to propose to Lisa. Nobody knows. So are you okay with that? And I'm like, yes, you know, I'm not that horrible. No, it's my show. So nobody knew. So at the end of the show, they very kindly brought me on stage and gave me some flowers, which was lovely. And then Jason stepped forward in his dress and his wig and everything, and he knelt down with the ring and proposed to Lisa in front of everyone, like a full 100 people in the audience and whatever. And Kim, Lisa's mum Kim, been doing like the wigs. She was at the back of the hall, and all we heard was this scream from Kim. She won't mind me saying this, because she didn't know. And so it was just like the most wonderful moment that made it really sort of equally unforgettable, was that actually they chose that moment, you know, to propose and that. So it was lovely. And if people are always sort of say, oh, what's the best memory of your panto? It actually is nothing to do with me. But it was such a lovely end to the show. So
what a lovely way to finish our podcast.
Exactly. It's a testament to Panto, isn't it, about how lovely and magical they are, that you can even propose at one. But that is a lovely story. Thank you so much, Kay, for joining us.
No, that's okay.
So interesting. Yeah, it's so interesting to hear your stories, and we'll definitely have you as a guest again if you want, in the future.
Absolutely. Well, if you want to talk about a bit more adult comedy and how to write smut, then you know I'm your girl.
Oh, we'll definitely have a
filth the podcast. You know, that's there you go.
We'll definitely do that one. Thank you very much.
Topic of the week, smut.
Smut. After dark.
And on that note,
thank you all very much for listening, and we will see you
Thank
next week.
I really enjoyed that. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.